Okay, so I'm gonna go all the way around the boat. This one I will. In FX, he gets on my case about my long vlogs. Let me say this: this is a fight against spirit and against flesh, and that happens between everybody. It happens. Everybody has that. Everybody has a fight, an internal fight against the spirit and the flesh. That's what it's all about. Okay, so let me explain this, and that I'll just say this one thing about Israel, Israel, and Arab nations. It is theological. The reason why our president is over there right now is we have a problem between uh, two brothers. Okay, two brothers, half brothers. Okay, and they were born. The story is now. I'll tell the story of the Bible and from the Christian, Judeo-Christian perspective. But if you talk to some Arabs, they will say that story is wrong. Okay, I wanted to say that to throw that in there. Okay, the whole thing is about bloodline rights to the Holy Land of God. Okay, and this is the bloodline that Jesus came through was through the house of David. Okay, um, David had battles, many battles, and personally had battles between the flesh and the spirit. You know, okay, I see where I'm not gonna make this short. Okay, but let me get back on point. You know, there's a lot of people now. David, he had these battles and he did certain things, and I wanted to do a little vlog on this about him. But you know, you gotta understand that he was a much loved king. Okay, and he was he. They said that this was a man after God's own heart. Okay, yet he had you know had made some mistakes, which happened to do with his with the flesh. Okay, but to get back on point, Abraham, which was the father of many, many, many nations that the house of Israel is built on, and that the bloodline of Jesus, and this is why I try to make it known that homosexuals. I have to pepper this. Forgive me if it's not linear, but bloodlines, are important. You know, there's the how Jesus Christ. Herod literally tried to destroy his bloodline. Any child that was born at a certain time. Anyway, scratch that. Has nothing to do with what I really have to say. What I have to say is that Abraham and Sarah, God told Abraham just before he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, he said, which is a situation about homosexual rape. And homosexual rape happens every day in jails. So don't act like the Bible is non-relevant in its ancient history. Because those two brothers are fighting. The nation of Israel and the Arabs are fighting today. And it's because of this reason. And that's why I'm saying this. It's relevant, And so the spirit and the flesh, and that happens to be what the story of Abraham is about. God told Sarah to have, and she was going to have a child, and Sarah laughed. She didn't really. They were way up in age, and she had a very good sense of common sense. Unlike a lot of these women today are 50, 60 years old and want to have children. Well, she was at that age and she just God told her that she was going to have a child and she laughed. She said, because I'm up in age, and But the factor was that God said it, okay? And, if God say something, the devil going to try to mimic it and reverse it around and change it up and flip it upside down, okay? But anyway, God said that in your late age, you're going to have this child. So time went on and time went on and time went on, and they still hadn't had the child. But the fact of the matter is God said it. And his word does not come back void. Okay, so if he said it, it don't matter. Time is not the issue. It's just he said it, And so anyway, she got older, and what she decided to do is have her husband, Abram. She wanted, bloodline was very important. He needed to have a son. And she understood this. So she had concubines, maidservants, and stuff like that. She said, just like we do today, and especially homosexuals always have to do, is go to a heterosexual or somebody else who can have a child who is fertile, okay, or to a heterosexual relationship, right? And that's my point. If homosexuals say that creation is not the reason to get married or to have children, but as soon as they get married, then they want to have children, and that's caused a problem with the Catholic Church because they're being persecuted. So this has been very sneaky, back around the way, a way of persecuting the church. Okay, all right. So anyway, Sarah goes to her maidservant, who is an Egyptian. Okay, and and this is the land that they were delivered out of. Okay, so she was an Egyptian, and she gave her maidservant to Abram to have a child. So she devised from her own thinking and her own plan, to have children, and it went against the word of God. It was not a trust. She was thinking in her own flesh. Okay, so she bore a child, and as soon as she bore the child, and they had a child, then shortly afterwards, I don't know shortly afterwards, but eventually Sarah did get pregnant. Now they had Hagar's child was Ishmael, and Ishmael, and Hagar got really, really arrogant after that. She knew that she was a maidservant. She just went up the ladder. Now she's holding Abram's, the king of this tribe's child, and she started to mock Sarah. So Sarah's plan started to backfire on her. And so now Sagar and this Sarah and Hagar are at ends. And now Sarah has a child, and Sarah now devises to get rid of Hagar. And so she drives her out into the desert. She goes to Abraham, says, "Get rid of this woman. I can't stand her. She mocks me. And also, this is a divide against the wealth and the inheritance. Okay, so one thing gays are saying, they're saying this is all, homosexuals are saying this is all about love. It's all about love. But then they say, well, we want the benefits and the tax breaks and ownership of their property. So that's not, if you love them so much, not to mention that they could write a will to each other. Anybody can write a will to whoever they want. But now this marriage has been used to get at somebody's finances. Okay, now we know what happens in heterosexual marriage. I just saw on television the other day where this man wasn't really being the kind of man he should be, and he let the woman lead and make all the money, and then he divorced her, and she told him, "You're not gonna get my money," and she got a boyfriend, and then and she was a chemist, a biochemist, and she got a vat of acid and killed her husband, and had him dumped in the acid. It's just so he won't get her money. People is getting killed over people's money. Okay, marriage couples, how furious that is, and divorces and everything is. And then when you can marry somebody, you can take advantage of them for their money. So now, you add in, with these homosexuals, young men can take these old men for their money if they are allowed to marry, for money. Okay, so women marry for money, but that's it's understandable. Women are provided for because they can have children. There should always be some money involved when it comes to women. There was always a dowry. So anyway, the reason why these two brothers are fighting now is over the inheritance of the land of Israel. Because they both feel Ishmael, and they're both their sons, and really, really, they both should be there, because they're both his sons, but but basically one was conceived, and not to offend any Arabs or Muslims or anything like that, and a lot of them, that's how, Muslims rejected the Jewish, from my understanding, which I don't know a lot about Muslim, but they rejected the Tanakh, or whatever it's called, the Jewish Bible, or the Quran, or whatever, and they rejected it because of how the inheritance was written. So it's really about inheritance. So when you start, this, marrying people and having, this whole thing over money, that becomes a real big issue. But like I said, to me, it's a different issue. It's when you raise children in a non-spiritual sex environment, arrangement that is based solely out of the flesh and sex and sexuality and homosexuality, then you raise them up and marriage being spirit, you have the same thing, and what's going to happen is they just going to clash spirit versus flesh again, but really, if you think about it, God did bless Ishmael and gave him, made him a nation. So I know I have some Jewish people, and I love when they correct me about the law and stuff like that. But so feel free. God bless you all. Love you.